Yeah. Are you a robot?
Be a salesperson. I should say that.
Hired.
Hey guys, welcome back to the High Homes channel. Today is another episode of Expert Talks where we're going to be talking to you about a super interesting topic: architects, construction, and developing in Spain. Are you ready? Let's go. Hey guys, welcome back. So we're here with my good friend, Jose Manuel Garrido.
Okay, yes, that's me.
Thanks for joining us, Manuel.
Thank you for inviting me.
We also introduced my colleague, Matt Campbell.
Hey.
Matt, we're going to talk architects.
That's
we're going
right.
to be sharing with our audience information on how it works to build in Spain. People ask that question, is it difficult to build in Spain? The permits, what can you build? How expensive is it to build? The juicy reality.
How cheap?
How cheap? That's that. There we go.
Right.
Be a salesperson. I should be saying that.
Hired.
I think we'll start with the first question. Introduce yourself, Jose Manuel, and
Okay.
explain to our audience who it is you are, your background, your career,
Okay,
information about yourself.
I'm based in Estepona, but as many architects and people here in the business working all around the Costa, from Soto Grande to mi hija even farther. I went to the university in Seville, and I started working there in a big firm. And then I decided to come back to it's not my hometown, but my family lives here, friends, and many things going on, even much more than in Seville. And then I started working in another firm, and then I decided to start working on my own, running my own businesses, which has been challenging.
How many years ago was that?
More than 25. I'm not that young, by the way. Then I hired some people, team grows, and recession came. I have to hire people, which was so painful to me. And also after the confinement, after the pandemic, now I'm working with some collaborators, mainly focused on villas. I made a different type of buildings, but villas is, to me, the more interesting thing because the connection with the client is closer. In some cases, former clients became friends, and it's so rewarding.
So I'm going to add on that, right? Because you're a very humble man. But when you see a house and it's signed off by Jose Manuel Garrido, it's a bit like a signature house, in my opinion. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to work with you on projects.
Me too.
We've actually sold properties which have your signature on it. And some of your projects, some of your villas are some of my favorite properties that I've seen. One in Marbella, which is...
I can't forget that.
Oh my God, beautiful. And then we did a few projects in Los Amigos where actually I took care of, many years ago, supervising the project with our client.
Yeah.
Do you work with clients that sort of buy a plot of land and then they hire you and you do a bespoke design, or how does working with you work?
Normally work that way. I'm normally referred by either former clients, state agents that I used to work with, lawyers, or clients that came from my own marketing. Normally they have no idea or with a few ideas, so we have to develop that first approach.
Let's say, a client comes to us and, for example, some of my office tours them and shows them the entire real estate market and shows them, 10 plots, and they say, hey, I love this plot, right? They end up, taking a reservation on the plot or whatever, and then traditionally they'll come to you, like you have many places, and they would go, right, this is the plot I bought, what are the options? And you will be able to give them an approximation of the cost, right?
Exactly. Firstly, normally, a previous study of what can be done, which actually one of the main roles of the architect in the very early stages is delivering the client the whole idea of what can be done according to regulations, right? Then when it comes to, okay, I want that, very first thing is understanding the needs of the client. To me, it's very, very important. It's really relevant. Even to try to understand and know what even they don't know, or they are clueless about that. Given that, we can put something, a sort of, this is what you want, and then go into the next phase. You need all of these things, all of these costs involved, to get to the point of having your house finished.
So actually, that's a really good question. So the first thing would be the preliminary sort of study. You would say, okay, Mr. Client, this is what you can build, and then after that, once they complete the plot, you would start the project.
Yeah.
How long does it take? From, let's say, imagine you agree on terms with the client. How long does it take to create a project, and then how long does it take to get the license to build?
It depends. We have normally a pre-design or a previous design. Once the client approves that, we go into the real project, which is the draft, or básico in Spanish, which we are entitled to make an application for the construction permit. and then the executive, which is the technical project where we define all the technical details. So the thing is that the process should be, once we approve that, then we get into the draft, and then into the executive. For the first part, could be 1 month, 2 months maximum, depending on the back and forth, different alternatives or whatever. Then second phase, it could take 2 weeks, 1 month maximum, as maximum, because once the pre-project is done, then the draft is quite close. And then the executive could take 1.5, 2 months. In total, 4 months, then the application.
Oh, and then application.
Then the application. Timing for the license, that could be really challenging, depending on the municipality.
Which is the best in that order, and you finish in the worst?
I should say Benavis.
Benavis,
number one.
Okay.
Estepona, probably, they are quite good in that way. Then probably, depending, Casares. Then probably Mijas. The worst, Marbella, for sure.
Yeah, number one is the worst.
The worst.
So the feedback would be, if you do buy a plot in Marbella or Mijas, you need to be prepared to sort of be patient.
Have you ever had an instance where people come to you and ask you to design the home and then look for the plot on which they could put that home? Or is it usually the other way around, that they come to you with a plot of land and they say, what can I put on here?
Normally work that people have some ideas, even come with Pinterest boards or whatever. Some of them come with just a piece of paper. I had a funny story from some clients in Soto Grande, but they were Gibraltarian. Yeah, and they came with a DVD. It was in the 2004. A DVD, and
Like a disc.
yeah, and I thought, come on, what is that? They wanted me to make a huge house, a villa, but the main hall, the entrance, they wanted Scarface, you know the film from Al Pacino?
Say hello to my little friend!
Like that. And I said, come on, this guy's is crazy. But they were not. They were so funny. They were a bit crazy, it's true. And I said, come on, guys, this is a film set. This is board. This is not real. I want that. Double height.
Make it real.
Imperial staircase. We did it.
You did it.
So yeah.
You actually did it, Scarface.
Yeah, a Scarface house too, because there were two brothers in Santa Grande. But normally this is weird. Normally people can give me suggestion.
But is it house design first and then plot, or plot first and then design?
Normally first plot.
Yeah.
Always, because of what I explained before. You have constraints that you have to consider from the first moment. Unless you have your preferred house in mind, because I want this. Like these guys, not that way, but I want this, and then I have to check if this is possible to be placed on that plot. Okay.
So next time you want to design a house, just invite them over for Netflix and write.
Yes,
Yeah, I want that house. I'm afraid that this is going to work more and more in the next years.
People go online, right? And back in the time, many years ago, there's a few companies which now no longer exist, where they were offering design and build a villa for really cheap prices. You see villas for 600,000 euros, 700,000 euros, and it looks like 1,000 square meter property, and you would then become a developer and build it yourself, right? There's a few companies which are now, thank God, they don't exist. But I think it's very simple. Like, you cannot build something for under the market price. There's a market price for everything. And when something's too good to be true, it generally is. Can you walk us through construction costs per square meter? Because I think for you guys, if you're in the US, you're in Canada, you're in the UK, you want to sort of compare construction costs from your home country, no? Yeah. So can you guide us through per square meter construction prices in Spain?
Well, I should say in the Costa del Sol.
Costa del Sol, fair enough.
Always saying average could be a nightmare, and I have suffered giving those references to some clients, and then it becomes out of date, and it's always so painful that the clients can't afford that. Well, the thing is that to be more specific in terms of costing, nowadays costing from the very basic could be from scratch, very basic, or a refurbishing with certain qualities, levels, whatever, 1,500 euro per square meter. Okay. Up to, limited to sky, as always. Let's say 35 or so could be a nice average. 3,000 could work for villas and the like. Okay,
that's exactly what we've seen. So we've seen people that have been, building their houses around, the cheapest quality to get okay materials around 1,500, but nothing special. Then the average is 2,500, and if you want something very special in the villa market, 3,500.
3,000
and above. I mean, we have clients that spend 5,000.
Sure.
The sky's the limit. So if you were to buy a plot of 1,000 square meter, where you can build a house of 250 square meter, let's say 200 square meter to make easy maths, you'd be at, let's say, 400,000 construction cost, more or less.
Yeah.
But it's very important that there's always hidden costs that people don't identify. Landscaping, gardening, urbanization works, things which are not accounted for sometimes.
How much more buffer should somebody add to their budget to account for potential hidden costs in the project?
Something I want to be more precise in terms of the costing, the average I gave before. When I make this calculation for a very rough cost in the very early stages of the project, this means we are working on the construction. Let's say if the plot is 1,000 and it could be done 300 square meters, the enclosed area, I mean, not pool, not landscaping, not walls, then it could be more precise as more as we move forward in the process. And then it comes to some other costs, which are design, inspection or surveying of the construction, license fees for sure, and some others, say soil report, which is important.
A question for you being an architect. A lot of the houses don't have smooth walls, they have very lumpy walls. Is it true that that's a result of decades and decades of paint going on and that's what causes this sort of bumpiness?
But not only that, as I said before they started using concrete and brick, here the walls were made out with stones and clay. Yeah. It's simple, stone clays, and then the roof, the structure of the roof is wood and the tiles. Roof tiles. Yeah. But that's why those walls were not perfectly straight. Then they glued the plaster, in some cases with the hands, then some tools came after. But they are so bumpy because that reason. And of course, painting on top with calcium, how do you call it?
Same word.
But listen, now everybody wants flat,
nowadays,
straight,
the sugar cube houses, right?
It's a trend now. It's been a trend for a while. My understanding is that it will become out of fashion, I don't know when. In some ways, people are fed up with that. Even you get into a website of some of my colleagues, you can't even distinguish which one is who is who.
There's a beautiful, I normally go to Triana, which is a lovely restaurant on the beach, on the weekends with the kids, right? And there's this guy that's built a €7 million house right next to the beach. There might be, hundreds of people that walk in front of this house every single day, and you can literally see into his bedroom. There's no privacy. But what I do like is nowadays, I think that what we're starting to see is a lot of houses which are contemporary, that have the Andalusian essence. I love that style.
That's it. I think this will be the new trend I hope at least, and I believe in that. Actually, I would love to promote that. Let's mix in modern or temporary finishing with that traditional background that we have here.
Exactly.
And the richness of the knowledge of years and years of centuries of being here. Big mistake in many ways is the big windows. We all want nice views, especially when you pay a huge amount of money, ridiculous amount of money, being on top of a hill and seeing nothing. I can understand that. But then it comes to installation, maintenance, warming through the windows, cooling, all about being not efficient. Yeah, I'm not saying going back to these small windows you have in the Mijas houses, but there must be a balance. As well as that, the roof tiles. Why are you forgetting using tiles? Could be nice. Or some other inputs or ideas we have from the former construction.
We saw a house the other week, in fact, where somebody had taken a house that obviously it was built in the 80s, I think it was, that they had done a great job at preserving the traditional Andalusian style, but then the landscaping and everything on the inside had been redone and refurbished, but the outside really they preserved the essence, the true essence of that. It was like that perfect combination, right?
In my opinion, well, perfect houses. I have a really interesting question for you, and I get this a lot because we do sell villas and finished projects. We sell plots and help clients. We put clients in contact with you, but we also sell modern apartments, contemporary properties, right? On the entire Costa del Sol. There is always this sort of concept where people tell me like new construction is not as good as how they used to build in the olden days, and I actually don't agree. And this is one of the questions I have for you. I know Spain is building to European sort of level in our building, let's say, what's the word I'm looking for?
Standards.
Building standards. People seem to think that's not the case. So there is a minimum level that developer needs to, let's say, build to in terms of installation, noise cancelling. Can you talk us a bit through what that is?
Well, it's from 2006. They approved here in Spain the building code, construction build code, which meets most of the European standards. And especially when it comes to energy efficiency, it's being updated and I don't know how frequently, but it's being updated because this question, which is so relevant.
So if once upon a time Spain was highly unregulated, has it swung completely in the opposite direction and almost become overly regulated, I mean, giving confidence to
itself-
people that are buying properties here, they should feel confident in the purchase process as a
Yeah,
result
in
of
that way it's true. But well, for us, for me specifically, being an architect, it could mean, well, it's a headache, but it has to be challenging. We have to meet the regulations, we have to meet the requirements from the building code, and we have to make a nice design for my clients.
Yeah.
But all this background means you are going to be delivered of a house meeting European standards, and for you to be safe in the long run. More strict, yes, but
For the better.
yeah, for the better.
Your headache, not theirs.
Yep, that's true.
Jose Manuel, what's the largest house or what's the most impressive house you've ever designed?
I'm building a house in La Quinta.
In La Quinta.
In La Quinta. It's
Right
huge.
now?
Right now.
Okay.
Now they are digging, they are starting with the foundations, and it's about 1,000 square meters. And the look and feel is like a luxury boat. It's
luxury boat?
Yeah, it's that feel, it's round curves. I'm not that into that type of, I'm more square, but not to the cubic houses we commented before. A phrase they say, curve in architecture and also in construction is more expensive than a straight line, which is easy to understand, or square lines. But well, said that, that's huge house. Another one, quite big, but also interesting was that one we mentioned before in Cabo Pino.
Oh, that's one of my. I mean,
yeah.
I prefer modern houses with the Andalusian touch. But if I think about lineal houses,
That one was so nice.
incredible. It's actually front line to the gym, so it's in my If you ask me what's my dream location today, would be there. 'cause I grew up there.
Me too.
But that house was just when you walk into a house and you go, that's what I got.
The
there.
wow effect. But it was challenging because the clients were demanding, which is good because it means you have to deliver your best version.
So wait, you designed his wow house?
Yeah, but not for
nice.
him.
But not for me.
No, unfortunately
I've
not.
always said that when I build my house, to be designed by Jose Manuel Garrido, without doubt.
Okay, great, thank you. I look forward.
For people to understand the Spanish system, for the viewers at home, in new construction, if you're building a house or if you're buying an apartment, there's different figures involved. So first of all, you have you guys as the consumer, if you are a buyer, right, depending on what you're buying. Then you've got the developer, and then you've got the contractor, and then on the side you've got the technical team on the project.
True, that's
But
right.
in the difference is with clients that buy, for example, apartments, you are a consumer and you go to the developer and you buy a certain thing from the developer. You're expected to receive that certain thing after a period of time. When you buy a plot and you do a project yourself and you develop it with an architect, essentially you are the developer.
You become the developer.
So that's the biggest difference between, let's say, being a consumer, buying a product from a developer, or buying a plot of land and building. So what happens is, if you're in the market for a villa and you want to buy a villa in a project, for example, of villas, you go, there's many of them, where you buy a villa from a developer and it's finished, you buy a product as seen, right? And that's really straightforward. You don't have to get involved with the contractor or the architects or anything for that matter. But in the case of Jose Manuel, it's sort of a tailor-made villa. It's a different story. It's also a different category.
Absolutely.
It's a different category. No?
Yeah. I would like to say that being a different category doesn't mean that necessarily it has to be this 1,000 square meter villa. Could be
of course.
something small but bespoke. Is for you. You have to understand that you are buying not the T-shirt or whatever on a shop, but you're going to a tailor for doing all the things. I have to say, it's very common that people go first to a builder because they've been referred by someone, a friend or whoever. I'm not saying that this is a mistake, but it's just seeing a part of the whole scene. Me as an architect or my colleagues were delivering a sort of advice on the whole thing, from the regulations, from the very first moment, what you can do, up to the finishing of the construction, even when you have to go to the land registry, when everything is finished and you have your property.
Great piece of advice. Like if you're looking to buy, to build your own house and you're looking to buy a plot and build your house, the first port of action or the first call would be go and speak to an architect, talk to an architect, and then go and speak to a builder. Don't do the other way around.
Exactly.
I totally agree. 100%.
At High Homes, we consider ourselves a tech-enabled real estate agency. With that, the adoption of AI has kind of come as a wave, and we're implementing it in all facets of the business. How has AI impacted your part of the real estate sector?
Well, it's that recent that at the moment I can say I'm working with the AI, but not in a deep way. In the long term, of course, no one knows. But even in the short term, as it's evolved so quickly, is so interesting. I'm not still implementing in my design processes, but I'm pretty sure in the following years I will, because it's impossible to be a part of that unless you want to get out of the market. Now we can just start with the design, but it's going to be implemented for sure in all the phases, up to the maintenance, up to the once the house is finished, everything, all the stages.
The interesting thing for me, like, you know, just thinking about it, right? Like, you can input a bill of quantities into an AI, ask it to identify, you know, whatever you want, and you can see that it's got endless uses.
Yeah,
Well, I suppose you could also prompt, you know, ChatGPT or another GPT for that matter, exactly how you'd want a house designed, and it could, in pretty short order, produce a render of sorts of a building. Do you see that as a threat for your role as an architect? Is that
that's perfectly okay for me. But I have to say, I think that AI now being trend, being, you know, everywhere, there is a part of the human interaction that we can't forget, because to me it's a more important thing when I meet a client in person and knowing that feedback, of course, that AI will learn about emotions, will learn about everything. But this human interaction we can never, or I hope this will never happen, that we will need to do things like we are doing today, guys.
If AI replaces architects, just the agents can be replaced very fast.
Or maybe in 5 years you have a virtual architect here talking to you, I don't know.
Jose Manuel, how do you see the future of the real estate industry on the Costa del Sol?
Okay, that's a difficult question. Maybe we have to ask ChatGPT about that. Because of my age, I have suffered some recessions, and everybody said that recession will come again. But the thing is that because of people coming from all over Europe, or even from America, investing here, I'm pretty sure that it could last more than 10 years.
I agree with
and become a sort of California, although very ambitious, or Miami or Florida in Europe, in a lower scale, but my feeling is that could become that.
Super interesting question, just to go into that a bit more. What infrastructure do you think needs to be improved in Costa del Sol?
I'm listening train years and years.
Extend the train line all the way to...
train, and if possible, connecting to Algeciras.
I don't see that happening in my lifetime.
No, me neither.
It's the perfect solution, though.
But this is
solution.
Absolutely.
Solution. But the thing is that from years ago they say that there is an alternative by doing tunnels. This could be ridiculously expensive. We are not ready to that. We can't afford that.
Elon, also, if you're watching this, come and build one of your subterranean trains. All right, we need you.
Please.
A couple billion. What's that to you?
One of the infrastructure, I think, something which is so simple is, for example, the AP7. That should be opened up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, at the moment you have all this traffic on the A7, as talking infrastructure, that needs to be opened up.
Then why not doing a train
on the AP7?
On the AP7.
Super. And then connect down.
Yeah, exactly.
Idea.
Transfers.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to see that in my lifetime.
No. Again, Elon, please come.
Elon Musk,
you have an opportunity.
Well, Jose Manuel, thank you so much.
It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Super interesting talk. So for you guys, we will leave Jose Manuel's details in the description of this YouTube video. So if you would like to get a signature design or any design for that matter, you can reach out. For you guys which are new to the YouTube channel, go ahead and click the button, subscribe to the High Homes channel, where we're going to be posted with videos just like these, with information about the market updates, drive-throughs, development information, and talks like these with the experts. Hasta la próxima.
Hasta luego. Bye.